little impatient with the justice system. One day after Moses had grown up, he went out to his people and saw their forced labor that the Egyptians were putting on them. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his kinsfolk, one of his people. He looked this way and that, and seeing no one there, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. This impromptu attack ended up getting Moses ostracized by his own people, and certainly had him on the hit list of those who were serving Egypt at the time. Likewise, Jesus says, put your sword away. If it was meant to be this way, you know what? I could call down thousands of angels to defend me. I don't need the metal. I don't need the swords. Those 12 legions, 72,000 angels. One of the legions being about 6,000 troops or soldiers in the Roman army. We see in the Old Testament some of the stories of what one angel can do when called by God to defend his people. Just imagine having the 72,000 of them. That's the image that kept Elijah and Elisha feeling okay on the mountain when they were being surrounded by people who wanted, mobs who wanted to kill them. Basically, Jesus tells them this. You know what, guys? This isn't a physical battle that's going down right now. Paul writes later on, for the weapons of our warfare are not merely human, but they have divine power to destroy strongholds. We're not fighting metal on metal. We're not fighting wood on wood. This is a battle going on between good and evil. Between the God of the universe and the Prince of Darkness. That's what is really all going down here. It's not going to be won with the metal or the manpower. Even if Jesus had called down all that angelic help that was right at his fingertips, had he done it, what would have happened? Well, remember our quarter from a couple of weeks ago? Those prophecies that Jesus says needed to be fulfilled. It needed to happen this way so that the prophecies, the scriptures could be fulfilled. Wouldn't have happened. It's so important that Jesus even mentions it twice. It needs to happen this way. Hopefully, probably calming Peter down as he's like thinking, no, it can't be this way. You're not supposed to be arrested. You're not supposed to be killed. And yet God's plan is set in motion. And it's bigger than one man, bigger than one cross, bigger than one grave, full or empty. I imagine Jesus said this with all to Peter, with a little bit of a twinkle in his eye. Why would I say that? Hoping that as he speaks to Peter, the mob can overhear him. Saying, put down your sword, because you know what? Those who live by the sword, those who carry the sword, are going to die by the sword. Guess who had the swords and the clubs? The mob. And Jesus almost hints at them. You carry the sword, guess what? You're going to die by the sword. And eventually it's the sword that overthrows the Roman Empire. And Jesus leaving them to God's justice gets fulfilled. I wonder what it must have been like when Jesus finally turned towards the crowds. Don't they know Jesus' character? Don't they know what he's been like for these couple of years as he does ministry? Yes, the Pharisees have been antagonizing him. They certainly get to see the more aggressive side of Jesus, but do they think they're going to need a mob with metal and wood and manpower to arrest him. They had a number of chances to arrest him in the temple, yet didn't take it. Remember, for one thing, they were afraid of the crowds. They were afraid, because of the popularity of Jesus that was constantly growing as he ministered, if we end up taking him in the crowd, in the temple, we're going to get stoned ourselves. Yet all of this happens so that not only the prophecies, but God's own timetable can be fulfilled. As Peter says in his, when all that boldness and outspokenness comes to him, and he gives his big sermon that converted thousands, this man handed over to you, according to the definite plan and foreknowledge of God, you crucified and killed by the hands of those outside the law. He was handed over to you according to the definite plan and foreknowledge of God. His words about calling down angels, having all that power at his fingertips, and yet not resisting, says one thing. No one takes my life from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have the power to lay it down, and I have the power to take it back up again. This is Jesus basically saying, you know what? Saying to the mob, essentially, you know what? You may put the nails in my hands. You may put the sword in my side, but you're not the one who has the power to kill me. I have the power to lay down my life, and I have the power to take it back up again. Though he had such power at his fingertips, I wonder what it was like when the disciples split. When the disciples ran away, fled. At that moment, just like we told the kids, when Jesus probably could have used them the most. I wonder what it was like, not just from Jesus' point of view, as we kind of shared with our kids, but what it was like from the disciples' point of view. What was running through their minds as the mob closes in, lay their hands on their Lord and arrest him? I've never been in the foxhole of the celestial battle. The foxhole being the place, if you've been in the military, especially on the ground, where you dig yourself in because you know right here is where battle's going to go on. Right here is where your life is going to be on the line. Some people talk about foxhole Christianity when you're in the middle of that battle, whatever it may be. And that's where you end up realizing how much you need God. But you could call this the foxhole of this celestial battle going on between good and evil, between the God of the universe and the Prince of Darkness. I've never been in that foxhole, so I can't really say I blame him for wanting to bolt. There are those who even defend the disciples' decision to run. And they make a good argument, I must say. The idea that Jesus has passed on Christianity to them. And if all of them are killed, where does it go? So they flee so they can live to fight this battle another day. It makes sense. Their error is not in that they ran, that they turned tail and run, even though we like to criticize them for it, but in where they put their trust. They put their trust in their feet, not in their faith. They weren't thinking, if God has got this all worked out, and He wants the gospel to survive, He might be able to get me through this. Not thinking, if this story, if this way is really supposed to continue to the next generation, maybe God's got our safety somehow figured out so we can go on to fight the battle another day. Peter's own words. According to the definite plan and foreknowledge of God, all of this happened. But there are many things that will put us in the foxholes like the disciples. In those battles, we were all alone. When our kids may go through peer pressure at school, we had just actually been at Impact Theater last night, and ironically enough, I hadn't even thought about this until I saw the skit, but they did one called Compromise Your Integrity, where it talks about a person being given the chance to compromise their integrity either at work or in their relationships, and all of the crowd is hassling them. Go for it, take the money, forget your integrity. And the two characters that are up on stage are in the foxhole, all by themselves, having to decide with everybody, with the mob saying, take the money, forget your husband, forget your integrity, take the car, take the dates. And they stand all alone in battle against the mobs. Sometimes it comes in that literal sense, like I just said about peer pressure or being persecuted for our faith in whatever degree or way that may look like. Sometimes in a figurative sense. Wondering how we're going to get through all the factors of life, how we're going to get the bills paid and, health concerns and children and, worrying about what they're doing and where they're going and who they're hanging out with and everything. So who do we count on when the mobs close in on us? Does our faith even play a part in it? Is it even something we consider when we're thinking about what the solution to a certain situation is? I'm not going to ask you to answer that for a very specific reason. If God could use the worst week of His existence on earth as Jesus, if God could use that worst week in making His perfect plan come about, do you believe God is capable of seeing you through the same struggles? Here's why I ask you not to answer. Because when Jesus had his friends, when Peter had his friends around him, remember what he said? Even if I have to die with you, I won't leave you. I will not deny you. But when he got in the foxhole, when all the other disciples were gone and Peter's left and the woman is coming saying, you know this man from Galilee. You were seen with him. And he's all by himself. The truth comes out. So why do I ask you not to answer that question now? Because the next time you're in the spiritual foxhole, you'll find your answer. Let's pray. Lord, be with us in the foxholes. Stand with us when the mobs close in. Keep us strong, keep us faithful, knowing that you will never leave us. Amen.